Hello and welcome to our presentation for this year's 2023 UN Datathon. Our team name is the Imputers and we're from the Australian Data Science Network here in Brisbane. Today, we're here to present our project, EDVantage, Investing in Children for Better School Performance and Social Development. A critical area of development identified by the UN was education. We chose to explore the impact of education of social development, specifically seeking to model strategies that improve education as a method of remedying social disadvantage. In the figure, we've plotted SEIFA, a social disadvantage metric, against a standardized test score in a Year 9 classes across Queensland, demonstrating this correlation between education and social disadvantage. We propose EDVantage, an online interactive monitoring tool for education performance in Australia. EDVantage gives spatio-temporal insights on social advantage and disadvantage, as well as school performance. Throughout this talk, we will explore the ways in which EDVantage can be used by policymakers and key stakeholders to guide decisions surrounding education and social impact. On this slide, we spotlight three pivotal data sources for our project. From the Australian Bureau of Statistics, we extracted crucial social welfare data, providing a socioeconomic backdrop for our analysis. Through AWS's provision of UCLA data, we assessed Australia's data connectivity, a key factor in our study of digital infrastructure. And from the Queensland Department of Education, we derived insights into school performance, informing our examination of educational outcomes. Together, these datasets form the empirical foundation that underpins our project's findings. This slide juxtaposes SEIFA data with school results in Queensland. The map illustrates socioeconomic status, with darker areas being more affluent. Superimposed are trends in Year 9 numeracy, with symbols indicating significant score trends. The table to the right highlights that secondary schools are seeing a marked decline in performance, notably in Years 7 and 9, in contrast to the steadier marks of early primary years. The takeaway is clear. There is a pressing need to address the educational slide as students progress into secondary education. This slide presents the impact of increased educational funding and teacher numbers on student performance in the NAPLAN test, which is the National Assessment Program Literacy and Numeracy in Australia. This bar graph displays the percentage increase in average NAPLAN marks across different school years and scales up on two interventions, increasing funding by $10,000 per student and increasing the number of teachers by 10 per school. As we move from Year 3 to 9, we observe a notable trend with additional funding. The improvements are consistent but moderate across the board. However, when we look at the increase in teacher numbers, we see a significant surge in Year 9 results, particularly in numeracy and writing. This indicates that adding teachers may have a profound impact on older students, especially in developing complex skills like mathematical reasoning and expressive writing. These findings suggest that strategic investments in teaching staff could yield substantial educational benefits, particularly as students progress to higher grades with more challenging curricula. Turning our attention to the realm of data connectivity, we must acknowledge the increasing digitization of educational resources. Access to superior broadband services is becoming imperative for the academic success of our students. Our research in Queensland has delved into the impact of broadband velocity on the scholastic achievements at the senior school level. The findings of this investigation are quite revealing. An augmentation of broadband speed by 20 megabits per second correlates with a statistically significant increment of 0.8 very high achievers per 100 students, and an additional 1.3 high achievers per 100 students. This enhancement in broadband speed is also associated with the increase of 1 graduate per 100 students. These results underscore the critical influence of broadband infrastructure on educational excellence. Finally, we aim to use all this data to develop a model that predicts school academic performance, given an intervention. In doing so, we hope to allow policymakers to hypothesize about the impact that decisions will make. We included a range of features, including school size, measured by number of students across year groups, the type of students that attend the school, and previous academic performance of the school. We use a light gradient boosting model to capture the temporal data associated with our features. We make this model available for policymakers in EDVantage. As with all projects, it is important to address the limitations in our work. First and foremost, ABS data is suppressed for privacy reasons, so the data we received was quite sparse. Having more information about the missing structure of our data would allow us to better model outcomes. EDVantage was also built only using data from Queensland, so our next steps would be to explore the scalability of these models. Finally, our temporal data does not cover any migration patterns. Hence, our assumption that developing schools will result in a future improvement in social advantage is yet to be substantiated. Now, let's dive into a demonstration of how EDVantage works. So this is the prototype of EDVantage app. Home screen, very simple, primary and secondary school performance tracking. We're gonna go first about data. This is simply stating our sources. Then about us, this is the team with all of our bios and our contacts. And then the important part is the map. So, map of Australia, we can first show Queensland schools. So we have all these locations. And if I pick a random school, let's say this one here, I can see how it changes through time. So here we have 2021, and I can cycle through the years and I can check its performance and information about this school, like number of teaching staff, total enrollment, split between girls and boys, full-time equivalent enrollments, language other than English, etc. So we can also see the EARSAT score, which tells us about social advantage and disadvantage. And as you can see here, all these yellow regions, which are the statistical area level 1s in Brisbane, which is metropolitan Australia, are highly advantageous. Whereas if we move further to the outback, you can see these lower value regions around 2.7 as opposed to 3.1 in metropolitan Queensland. So we can superimpose, for example, year 3 performance in numeracy, and we see that there are no significant temporal trends in majority of these regions. Every square is 100 by 100 kilometer area. We see a few of these regions have some upwards trends, so that means the results are improving over time, but majority of it is not significant. Now we can compare this to year 9 numeracy, where we have much more of this downwards trend than, not significant or upwards trend. So essentially over time, year 9 performance drops. And the next thing that we're going to look at is the actual predictive model that we built. So we are using a gradient boosting machine, and we are going to assess, for example, year 3 numeracy. And all of these values, these default values, are state averages. So we're going to predict achievement, and we say that the year 3 numeracy NAPLAN score is 338. But let's see what happens if we drop year 3 enrollments down to 30. And we predict there's a little bit of a drop, but nothing major. We're going to compare this to year 9 numeracy. So the baseline is 342, but if we drop it down to 60, the score goes up by a significant value, up to 430. So EDVantage can be used as a monitoring tool to guide decision-making, to assess the effects of these factors on student performance.